Hey YouTube, Alex here, and in today's video I want to discuss this subject, this idea that not all mentors are good, and I thought that there's several main points that go into this, and so why don't we go ahead and get into those now. So the first point I'm going to make here is that some mentors, they want you to do well, but they don't want you to do better than them, and I've experienced this in a number of different scenarios where as soon as I began to show signs of surpassing their ability or their capability, they became resentful and frustrated and bitter and angry. Everything was cool when I was stumbling through a subject and looking like an idiot, because that's the way you look when you're trying something new, is you mess up a lot. I mean, I reflect on some of my earlier videos, they're terrible, and I know in a few years I'll reflect on these videos and think, oh, you can do better than that. But not all people want you to do well. Not all people are meant to be coaches. Not all people want to see you exceed their capability and to go far beyond it. And it's really sad because that's what it takes. I mean, you look at, say, Naomi Osaka's coach or Conor McGregor's coach or any of these really superstar athletes, they have coaches that are willing to put the success of the athlete above their own success as a coach. They're willing to make decisions and different attitudes and ways of thinking that sort of encourage and foster success on the part of another person. And it wouldn't work if those people, as soon as Conor McGregor and Naomi Osaka started to have success, cut off the attention, became bitter. Oh, you can't do this, you can't really succeed. Oh, whatever it is that you think you're going to do, it's not really practical. I mean, I've had mentors where as soon as I start talking about the potential salary that I could make and that I'm interviewing for companies that pay quite a bit, oh, what? And you can see this shift where they go from being supportive to now bitter and resentful because you're going to get more than them. You're going to have more than them. You're going to do more than them. It's kind of sad too, because you expect these people that are investing time, presumably in your future, to be supportive all the way and to realize where you're coming from. In my case, I'm not looking to make a lot of money because I'm greedy and I want to be a rich guy. It's because I don't have any family to fall back on. A lot of people that I know, they're going to inherit some kind of property or stock, equities, something like that from family members, and I don't have that. So I essentially have to create my own retirement, my own nest egg, my own financial security, and I've kind of come up with this solution. The only way for me to deal with that is to make a disproportionately large sum of money in a short time. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of my time and efforts and energy, but it's the only way I can get ahead. But you find some people that you think are there for you, that are there to support you. As soon as you start to exceed their capability, it's no man's land. It's like it doesn't exist. It's impossible. And it's really sad, because the reality is, you'll notice in some cases, in many cases that I'll discuss here, you're more capable than your mentor. And that's not the case for all mentors. We're specifically talking about mentors that aren't very good. The next thing we'll talk about here is that some mentors, they're just in it for credit or money or bedroom fun. They have some kind of ulterior motive. They're not there looking out for your best interests. They're not there looking out for you. Example of this that some of you may be familiar with if you're fans of mixed martial arts is Diego Sanchez and his former coach Joshua Fabia. Every time Fabia went to the media over some kind of frustration or gripe or concern, it was never about Sanchez, it was all about Fabia. He couldn't see past himself to make decisions and different ways of kind of solving problems that benefited Diego rather than himself. He was always in there saying, oh, you're not giving us the credit and it makes me feel this way when blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden it seemed like Fabio was getting the majority of the attention and the majority of the words in, and a lot of the stuff he was saying was just nuts. I mean, I'm not going to get into that discussion because that's aside from the point of this video, but I have to point out, many people warned Diego, hey, this guy's training methods are ludicrous. He'd hang Diego upside down and punch at him, and it basically just seemed like a really, really toxic situation, and a situation that was costing Diego a lot. Ultimately, Diego was released before his last fight because of Fabia's actions. His former coach, Joshua Fabia, confronted the UFC announcing team and, oh, you're not giving us our credit and we're trying so hard and you make us look bad and this and that. And part of the reality was Diego was on the tail end of his career. He's the Ultimate Fighting champion, #1 from the season of Tough, The Ultimate Fighter. And he'll always get credit for that. But fighting is such that you can only do it for a very short time, and then you're past your peak, you're past your prime, and you move on. I mean, I started watching 5 years ago, and the stars of today are different than the stars of 5 years ago in many cases. So it's not realistic or reasonable to assume this unlimited potential, and you have to be careful because there are mentors that want you to put yourself out there even when perhaps you don't have it in you anymore, you don't have the energy left, just because they want the glory, they want the success, they want the money that comes from you trying, even if it's not in your best interests. I mean, I've had mentors, and rather in many cases it's not really mentors, people just in charge, people with power over me, particularly when I was a minor, that they would push me well beyond my capabilities without rest and without a break, and they felt like, well, you know, I didn't get to achieve this when I was younger, I didn't get to achieve this when I was your age, so you're going to do it as a proxy for me. And you got to understand, some of these people, they're not looking out for your best interests. And so I really want to encourage you to be a bit judgmental when it comes to picking your mentors and thinking about your mentors. And if somebody's not working out anymore, and this is common in the mixed martial arts world, go find a new coach, go find a new mentor, let the old one go. Don't worry about the sunk cost fallacy of the time. Just be glad you're getting away from them and you're finding better mentorship, more capable mentorship, and people that are going to lead you in the right direction. The next thing, you got to understand some people's limitations. I mean, if somebody is an amateur chess player and maybe they're better than you, well, you're not going to train with them to get to the championship level. I remember my first chess coach, I got to a point where I exceeded his capability. He wasn't a terrible coach, but it got to the point where I think the final match I played with him, we drew, we had a tie, and at that point I realized I needed more sophisticated training, more sophisticated teaching. I needed to go deeper into the chess material to really continue to improve. And so I found somebody that was about double his skill level, and that coach, I stayed with him until eventually I had to stop playing chess for other reasons. But if I had stayed with that original coach, if I had stayed with him trying to improve beyond his level, I mean, it just wasn't going to happen. Of course, he's not going to say that because he wants the money for teaching, and he wants to be able to charge his hourly rates and do that kind of thing. But that was in his best interest to continue working as my coach. It wasn't in my best interest. And so be cautious for when you hit certain levels that you are able to move on to people who are better able to bring you to the next level. And this goes for really any subject. I mean, if you're a chef, you're not going to work at the local McDonald's forever. I don't have anything against people that work at McDonald's or McDonald's itself, but I think we all know that there's many finer restaurants than McDonald's, and while you can certainly learn a lot about operating a kitchen, operating a restaurant business by working there, it's not going to be the peak for a number of people out there. The final thing I'm going to mention here is that people change over time. Some people that might be a good mentor for you at one point in your life, over time, they don't have their own life sorted out. Maybe they're really good at this one thing, but everything else in their life is a wreck. That was not terribly uncommon in a number of disciplines I've been interested in, where somebody's really, really good at that one thing, but they're terrible financially. They have bad health. They're not handling their life as a totality of circumstances. They're just good at that one thing. And so you have to be aware if somebody's personal issues are getting in the way of mentorship, that's another sign you need to find a different mentor. Don't make it personal. You don't have to be rude to them or hateful, but understand that people really need to be able to handle their own things, their own lives, before they can coach, before they can direct other people. The best leadership and the best leaders that I've seen and experienced in my life, you start talking to them and their life's put together. They have a safe home, they drive a reliable vehicle, they have good relationships. They're generally upbeat and happy. They're not necessarily over the top happy all the time, but you can tell they've made some good decisions in their life and across a number of disciplines. Not just are they financially stable, but their relationships are good, and they're making regular different kinds of efforts to improve or to maintain good health. And these kinds of things are really important when you start to get to the more upper echelon, more difficult aspects of life, where you need to have all of your ducks in a row. For me to be super productive for an employer, I need to have good health. I need to be sleeping well every night. I need to be able to exercise. I need to have some free time to unwind from the stresses of the job. And so you need to make sure that you're talking to mentors, finding mentors that they really exhibit that. But anyway, thank you for watching. Definitely subscribe if you haven't already. Comment down below. Let me know about your experiences with mentorship. And finally, give us a thumbs up. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. And I'll see you next time.